Harry Styles and Golden on BBC Radio Shropshire. Now, my next guest has got quite an interesting life story, I would imagine, just having read a little bit of background here. Vic Gidney has had a slight career change. She's gone from working in fashion to creating new exercise classes called Runlates, and joins me now to tell me a little bit more. Vic, from London and New York to Hope Bowdler is not necessarily a journey many people make.
No, maybe not. First of all, thanks for having me on.
That's all right.
Yes, quite recently I was working in retail for just over 17 years, which is a scary amount of time, and then recently developed a passion for running and Pilates, which I'd done for a while, but trained as an instructor, and then found the two really complemented each other, and I saw a bit of opportunity with everything that's happened over the last 18 months or so, and launched my business, and I'm just in the process of relocating to Shropshire, so I'm really excited to launch it here.
So what did you do? Because I'm guessing it was going quite well, given it was taking you to various big cities with bright lights.
Yeah, so I worked in visual merchandising. I started with Topshop Top Man, and I had a couple of years, as you mentioned, in New York, where they did a big rollout of store openings across America. So I got to see a lot of hotels and shopping malls, which was an incredible experience. But yeah, it kind of felt time for a change. And I think over time, probably as you grow older, you develop new interests, passions for different things. And for me, that was the running and Pilates. So I took the leap to make a career change.
Were you in charge of kind of dressing mannequins and shop windows and things like that? That's what I imagine when I hear that sort of job title.
Yes. Yeah, and it's all the psychology of, when someone goes into a shop, where do you go? Like, what's your route around the store? How do we tempt you to buy things that you maybe weren't thinking you would? It's definitely something different.
And then I guess particularly Topshop has hit hard times. Is the career change linked to that?
Yeah, I mean, I left a couple of years ago and went to work for an outdoor retailer, which was probably part of the reason that I got into running, to be honest, or got into running maybe a little bit more seriously. And I think probably for anyone that's worked in retail, you're very used to dealing with change. It makes you very resilient. You tend to be used to kind of thinking on your feet and thinking creatively how to sort of solve problems. And I think that was probably part of what led me into this career change, or probably led me towards taking the risk, I suppose.
I'm imagining living in the city, you were one of those people that decided, right, I need to start exercising. So, when I lived in London, there were so many of these, either on bikes or running through parks, where they'd clearly gone and spent far too much money on specialist headphones and trainers, and were kind of either the good ones were kind of moving serenely through the park, looking immaculate and not breaking sweat, whereas people who looked more like me were kind of dying, leaning up against a tree. Which category did you fall into?
Definitely the second one to start with. And I think, interestingly, I probably got more into fitness when I moved back from New York, because I realised, over the time I'd been away, I'd had a few friends move on as things happen, and I wanted to meet more people. So I joined military fitness, so I was definitely one of those people sweating, leaning against a tree or on the grass. But I met a really great bunch of people that, you'd have a coffee with after, or a drink with after an evening session. They had a run club, so that's kind of how I got into running. And I think that's the other thing that inspired me to launch my own business, is I don't think we sometimes talk about the social benefits of exercise and running, and how great it is to meet people that you can then explore with, and also to kind of make new friends.
Particularly when you move about. That's one of the toughest things about moving, particularly countries.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think kind of the other thing is when you exercise with people, especially if you run, is it's a really great distraction, and it helps build your stamina. So I just did a run club in Church Stretton this evening, actually, and the people that the first week we did it, one of the women said to me afterwards, she's like, I've never run that far without stopping, and we were talking the whole way. And I think that's the thing, you're actually getting fitter without realising, because you can't hold a conversation when you're really out of breath.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the good thing about exercising with people is it distracts you from the hard work, I suppose.
That is it, because I can run, I say relatively far, and it is very much relatively, chasing a ball, but as soon as I'm just running and there's nothing to kind of chase after, I must be like some sort of greyhound or something. I need that distraction. But is the social side what got you hooked?
Yes, definitely. I have so many great friends I've met through running and Pilates, actually. And I think for anyone that runs, what the most frustrating thing is, and I've had so many friends suffer with injuries to hips and ankles and knees, and obviously you miss the exercise, but you then feel like you're missing out on the social stuff too, because you don't necessarily want to go to the brunch or the roast dinner or the drinks after if you've not been able to enjoy the run too, which is where the Pilates came in. Because when I started doing longer distances and when I ran my first marathon, which was with a group of friends that had all got into running around the same time, we were all kind of in it together, is a lot of them suffered with, a knee niggle, a twisted ankle, a strained hamstring. And actually, after doing Pilates for the previous 7 years, I was like, I'm actually fine. Sometimes a little bit sore, like anybody would be. But actually, training went quite smoothly. And I think that's the thing sometimes with injury prevention, if you enjoy any sport, really, not just running, is you miss the fitness stuff, but you also just miss the social side of it, which is why I find the two are a really good pair, because the Pilates just helps you keep running longer, whether it's longer distances, longer time, or as we age.
Well, a lot of injuries are posture and gait, aren't they? Which I guess the Pilates can help tackle. How do you fit the two together?
Well, I think, you can get very geeky about it, and I love, a good bit of, biomechanics, I think is the correct phrase. And the people that I trained with, APPI, do the Institute of Pilates Instructors and Physiotherapists, and they developed a course that is all about Pilates specifically for runners. So every exercise relates back to, I'm going to use the word efficient, running biomechanics, so that, ideally we want our weight to be further forward on the foot. So when we do some Pilates exercises, that's where we try and get our weight, for instance. Or we know that our hip, knee and ankle need to be aligned in a certain way. So when we do Pilates, we try and train that. So you've almost got that muscle memory. And then hopefully when you're running, that means all that force that, you're generating through your feet or absorbing through your feet as you push the pavement or trail away, we're not, going to cause any injuries to ourselves doing that over, 10,000, 20,000, however many steps. So the two complement each other really, really nicely.
Do you love a challenge? Because, you take up running as a hobby. You then decide I'm going to run a marathon. You then decide, actually, I'm going to start this as a business in a pandemic.
Yes, is the short answer. And if you ask any of my family or friends, they'll probably say I don't really do anything by halves. Right. So I'm actually running my first trail marathon this Saturday,
so that's off-road,
Stretton, which is nice and hilly. So that's that's another challenge that timed really nicely with selling my flat and starting a new career. But I think sometimes you have to throw yourself in the deep end, attack things with a bit of gusto and passion, and see where it takes you. And now felt like a good time to do that.
What was the catalyst for the whole life change? Why come back to Shropshire? Why start a new business? What was it? Was there a moment where you just thought, nah, enough, I'm going to do something differently? Or was it more of a kind of drip?
Probably a little bit of both. I think it had been buzzing around my head for a little while, because I trained as an instructor a couple of years ago, and I had it in the back of my mind. That was my long-term plan. And probably with moving to Shropshire, being a little bit closer to family, a lot of my old school friends that I'm still close to are here. And then I think everything with COVID just accelerated all of that, and it just felt like, the time was right, because I was on furlough, probably similar to sort of a lot of your listeners and a lot of people in retail, definitely. And I think I'm not the most patient, so I was sitting at home thinking, I've got all this time that I could be planning my next adventure or my next step, and things just started to fall into place. So I just sort of followed my nose a little bit, really, I suppose.
Is it weird coming home? Because it's almost the archetypal Shropshire story, isn't it? You can't wait to get away and go and move somewhere where all the buildings are bigger and there's more going on. And then you get to a stage in life where you think, why am I paying £1 million a month for a studio apartment somewhere where I can barely afford a coffee? Or that was my experience anyway. And then you come back and kind of have a new appreciation for it. Does that kind of ring half true?
Oh, it absolutely does. I think the newer appreciation for it, 100%. Because funnily, you mentioned like New York earlier, and when I moved to New York, nobody could understand why I didn't want to live on Manhattan. They were like, I live in the East Village, live in the West Village. And I was like, no, I want to live in Brooklyn with the trees and the parks. It's a little bit greener. And I used to love even flying back into London, the amount of green you see with the fields and countryside. That is what Shropshire is the epitome of. It's wonderful. And I think every time I drive back, up the M40, for anyone that knows that route from London up to Shropshire, turning off the motorway and driving through, the hills is lovely. So coming back, being able to run in them with lots of people and hopefully be able to make some new running friends to do that with is fantastic. So, that newfound appreciation, 100%.
So where are you at then in terms of launching this as a business? You've started doing some classes. Where are you on your? Because I imagine you're a planner. Where are you on your master plan?
Yeah, so I launched my online classes. It's actually Runlates' birthday on Monday. It will be a year since I launched my online classes, which is exciting. It's gone very quickly. So the bit that I'm launching in Shropshire is the physical classes with the lifting of restrictions. So I'm going to be doing both Pilates for Runners classes and social runs at the Shrewsbury Museum and in Colham as well, so weekly events. And then I'm also working with Wendy, who I think you may know from Shropshire Pilates.
Yeah, Wendy puts me in some very strange positions, often on the radio as well.
I bet. We do Stretton Run Club together, and I'm also teaching some studio classes for her too. So there's lots happening.
This is exciting then.
Yeah, really excited. I mean, I know I talk very fast, which probably isn't ideal for radio, but it's all passion and excitement. It's great. I couldn't be more excited to be back in Shropshire and launching my classes and my business here.
Are you nervous at all, going out on your own?
A little bit, but I think it's the good kind of nervous, that sort of adrenaline that keeps you going. And I think sometimes you need a little bit of that, don't you, to, what's the word? I think when you talk to a lot of successful people or people that have, been in a position that I'm in, they all say that, those nerves are probably healthy to keep you on your toes a little bit. And
if it's not scary, you're probably not stretching yourself.
Yes, maybe. That's probably quite true. And I think, as with anything, it's just having a good support network around you, and I'm very lucky with family and friends both in Shropshire and in London, that I've got a lot of people to bounce off and sort of be there if anything does go wrong, which, fingers crossed, touching lots of wood, it won't.
Well, I'm asking just generally about your life. It's quite intense to not live in your sort of the near vicinity of your family for quite a while, and then end up moving back, and then end up being locked down kind of in that situation. Have you seen more of them than ever, or not much?
I think because I've only just sort of moved back in with my parents, because I'm still selling my flat and buying my house here.
How's that gone?
For lockdown, I didn't see so much of my family because I couldn't. But actually now, no, it's been great. I mean, I'm benefiting from lots of lovely home cooked food and cake. And luckily, my sister lives next door with my niece as well, so I'm getting to have lots of auntie time.
They live next door.
Yes, yes. So literally on the doorstep, pretty much. So yeah, it's nice to be closer to my niece, to my nephew, see a bit more of my family. So yeah,
you've got somebody
all good so far. If you ask me in a few weeks' time, they might say different.
Yeah, somebody having to wash your running kit probably might want to chuck you out, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So how do people find out where you're going to be doing what and when?
Yeah, well, if you look up Runlates, so it's just Runlates, so like Pilates, but with the run tacked on. It should be quite easy to find on Facebook, on Instagram, and the website is just runlates.co.uk. So all of the classes or links to the class schedules are on there. I'm also going to be teaching at the Shrewsbury Club and a few bits for Wendy from Shropshire Pilates as well. So there's a few places to find me. But the Shrewsbury Museum and the Barnabas Church and Community Centre in Colham are where I'll be doing my Pilates for Runners classes and social runs.
Complete beginners welcome?
Pardon?
Complete beginners welcome? You're not going to...
Absolutely. Honestly, some of my clients have literally just done Couch to 5K, and then I've met some 70-year-old marathon runners.
Wow.
So, honestly, if you have two legs, you can run, you can do a bit of Pilates, and you can enjoy both. So, and the coffee and cake after, obviously.
And before you go, next time I'm walking around the shops, what do I need to be looking out for? How are they trying to subliminally force me to buy things?
It's all the little add-ons. So it's the clever ones. If you go and pick up a waterproof jacket, there's the wax or the spray you need to protect it right next to it. Or if you go and pick up a pair of jeans, there's a really nice belt next to it. It's all those little items per basket is the phrase we used to use that you need to watch out for.
Say it's clever, isn't it? Look, good luck with the business. Keep in touch, and
thank you.
And we'll speak to you again soon, I'm sure.
Great, thanks so much for having me on. Lovely to talk to you.
No problem. That's Vic Gidney from Runlates. So if you fancy learning to run, but with a bit of a difference, with a bit of Pilates thrown in as well, minimising the kind of risk of injuries and things like that, a good social side of it as well. Coffee and cake tempts me almost, although I think my maximum running distance is probably currently 300 yards, I would have thought. But yeah, search up Vic Gidney and you can find out all her classes.